Growing weary of running from room to room, practicing one-tooth insurance-driven dentistry? Then stay tuned for the latest episode of The Lionhearted, where Dr. Stephen Rasner will hand you the blueprint for what many call the gold standard of general practice dentistry.
Hi everyone, Dr. Steve Rasner here with another episode of The Lionhearted. You got me pretty inspired. Last week I opened up my application. It lets me know who's listening and where you're from, and man, like blew up the map, like from Russia. So hello to my Russian colleagues. That's pretty cool. Down in South America, like all over the place. So listen, you know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I'm hoping it's helping some of you, and I think it is. So I'm just one voice. You could be, I'm sure you listen to many voices, and you know, those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I'm the guy that was in the opposite end of his class. He wanted to be in the top of his class, but he wasn't. And that's not because I wasn't working hard. I did work hard. But I never stopped, and I never allowed myself to be okay with mediocrity. And so I kept plugging away, and, you know, almost 4 decades into a career, it's a pretty damn good career. And I'm passionate, enthusiastic about sharing with you, which is why I do these. And, you know, if I really care the way I do them, before I start, you can reach out to me. I want you to reach out to me. It's my personal email. It's Dr. Rasner, RASNER at AOL. And if you want to see where I'm speaking, or you want to sign up for any of my courses, that would be at rasnerinstitute.com. And you can come out to see where I'm at this year or next, or what courses I have in my office. But back to what I was saying, I want you to hear this right from the beginning, just as you plug in my podcast, wherever you are right now, in the gym, on the way to work, wherever you're at. If I really care, then I have to ask you to consider doing some things that I do. And one of them is I need you. And I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you this in just a second. I need you to look in the mirror conceptually and say to yourself, are you in or you're not? For real. I mean, if you love dentistry and you're just disappointed because of a multitude of reasons, maybe the financial reward, which in many cases it is, has been much less than you thought it would be. Maybe it's the struggle of you investing, the tremendous investment you've made in dental school. And let's be honest, when that's just the beginning. It's a lifetime commitment of both time and money. And maybe you're not where you want to be yet. Maybe the patients are just trickling in. Maybe your schedule still is full moth holes, openings. If you love dentistry, maybe not what I just said, but you still love the concept of what you signed up to be, then stay tuned. Then listen to me and take some advice from what I'm going to give you. Because what I'm giving you works. I mean, it doesn't work for just a year or 2 or 5. It's worked for 39 years. And if you can't tell from my eyes and my voice that I am sincere, then I don't know. Now, if you don't like it, seriously. I mean, maybe it's dentistry, maybe, you know, the whole getting in the mouth thing and oral health and drilling teeth or extracting teeth or using a scalpel, whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe can't cover that ground for you. But I can cover the ones that really do like it. They're just maybe disappointed and want to take it to the higher level. And you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you giving enough? I mean it. Are you really think that you're giving it all? Because to me, which is kind of the title of this podcast that I always remind you of, you know, the Lionhearted. Because, you know, lions to me are warriors. You know, they give it all. And is that what you've done? And are you honest to that? I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you this. This weekend, I hosted a course right outside my office, literally next to my office. and it was attended, and the speaker was a rising superstar from Germany named Frank Zastro. You can look him up on Real Bone Builders in Facebook. He's a pretty amazing young guy. I'm telling you this because the course had about 20 doctors in it. And out of the 20 doctors, at least 10 were GPs. Maybe more, maybe 12, 14. And of those, most of those were 40 and under. Some of them were under 30s. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me that they have made such a commitment at such a, it's the dead of summer right now. And this was a Friday and Saturday. And this course material, which is irrelevant to what I'm trying to make the point, was pretty extreme. It was learning how to augment bone horizontally and vertically with bone, not autogenous bone. Autogenous bone, not bottle bone. So it doesn't matter about the concept that was being taught. What matters is the amazing. And you know what? I can't get in there and look at their personal lives, the doctors I'm talking about. But man, they seemed, if I'm a halfway decent judge of people, they seemed like their lives were pretty together. And I think what only separates some of them from you is that first step. Because here's what else happens besides at a course like this. Besides learning how to augment bone laterally or horizontally or vertically, what happens is that you make connections. Like you meet the other docs, the like-minded docs in that course. And I know it's a struggle for a lot of you. So when I say look in the mirror, I mean like, okay, you might be saying to me, well, I can't afford a course that costs $1,800 or a continuum that I might suggest you take that cost even more than that. Now, if you're living below your means and everything else, and that's your story, then okay. And you got to take it in smaller steps. But, if you're driving and making a big payment on a brand new foreign car or whatever it is, you know what it is. I've done all that, by the way. That's how I know and can talk so freely about that stuff. I had the shore house and everything else probably before I should have had it. Not probably, definitely before I should have had it. And, now I did not let that interfere with education for me. I mean, this is the deal, man. When you get out of dental school, you're just not good enough. You're not. It's not dental school's fault. There's just so much you can teach in 4 years. So you got to get out there just like I did, just like these guys in the course are doing. And by the way, I hope you know that this is not about trying to convince you to take my courses. This is about you getting on board with making the commitment that is required. Because what happens is this. When you start taking courses and you connect to other people, you learn other courses that you may not have even heard about. Or even a technique. The guys were there to learn lateral, horizontal, vertical bone grafting. I guarantee you many of them discussed, there was prosthodontists there. There were periodontists at the course. There were oral surgeons. I mean, Mike Picos was at the course. Mike Picos, so those of you, my surgical colleagues that are out there right now, is world famous in his own right by far. And I'm telling you this on purpose. I was inspired because he didn't sit next to me, but I saw, it was a small room and I saw where he was. He was taking copious notes. Mike's done every surgery probably except Frank's technique, Frank Zastro. His technique precisely hasn't done his technique. But God, the guy is one of the most gifted oral surgeons that I know of and teaches people for the last 35 years. And he's in there taking notes like he just got out of dental school. I mean, that's the level of commitment, that he's about. And you wouldn't think that an instructor I'm sure Mike has arrived, certainly with his skill level and probably financially as well. I don't know him that well personally, nor would it be my business. But, yet he is all in. So are you all in? Are you? Have you really given everything it's going to take? Because if you do that, and you do it even for a short time, I refuse to believe that you won't reap the benefits of doing that. Like I told you in the last couple podcasts that I've had a really good summer, which is unusual. And I always want to keep it real with you guys. So I got to say, sometimes you do everything right, everything I share with you, everything others have shared with you, and you still have a stinker of a week or a month. And I've already been over what, because it requires multiple things that you can't always control, especially financially, to get to that point of having great weeks. And it doesn't require, by the way, to have a great week or a great month every month to have a great year. I am positive of that. I, at one point in this year, was 6 digits down. So we're into July 2019. There was a time in this year I was over 6 digits off of last year. And I don't have a tracking monitor it or even a production quota or anything like that. But I know my numbers. You know, I know every month versus last year and the year before because it's just part of what I look at. And now we're way over the other side, into the green. I mean, you know, up over last year. So don't think because you're having a bad week or bad month that, you know, you're doomed, because you're not. But back to my real point is that, you know, you have to say to your, here's what happens, because when you take whatever courses you're taking, the number one impact on that is in your chair next time you're recommending that procedure. You know, I don't care if it's endo and you're learning that part. I do think that's an important part for the GP to get down, unless you don't like doing that. You know, you can't master everything. There's certain basics, and those of you that have reached out to me, I've sent you my recommended residency. And when I say that to you, that's because, not because I know everything, it's because I think those skills on those recommended residencies I mail to you, or Beth mails to you, are the shortest way to success. And, you know, ad nauseum, I've repeated probably every podcast that the first skills I would acquire would be oral sedation, which isn't, you know, that big of a skill. It's more of a permit. And the next two are atraumatic extractions, site development. That's huge. Site development, when I say that, means bone grafting. That's just an ongoing commitment for you to take courses, 2-day courses here. I'm not talking like a half a day course or going online. I mean, if that's all you can afford in your life, then do that. Yes, do that. But, and then, you know, if you're going to learn that part, commit to that, then I've always said in these podcasts that I'm not sure why you wouldn't start the journey of surgical and, of course, prosthetic implant dentistry. Now, maybe I'm biased because that is exactly the road that I took. But boy, it sure seems like the quickest way to get. And when I say this to you, like, I'm thinking of the week I have coming up, or the couple weeks that I've had in the past during the summer that I keep telling you are so good. And, you know, I don't think I would be as fulfilled or satisfied if all I was doing is roundhouse arches of prepping teeth. I mean, the mix is what keeps me so inspired. You know, being able to do, you know, bone augmentation, being able to take a patient that was really scared and have a successful 3 to 4 hour appointment with them under my protocol. Doing endo, doing a successful knock it out of the park endo procedure. Mixing all those things in a given day or a given week is pretty inspiring to me. And I would think it would be to you. So that's the other upside of making this commitment, of looking in the mirror that I keep asking, are you doing? You know, it's easy to complain, right? It's easy to say, I'm getting, you know, beat up by these insurance companies. Everybody's got beat up by the insurance companies. You know, and I'm not telling you to drop them all come Monday. You heard what I've said about insurance company, the insurances you're taking, correct? If not, let me deviate for a minute. I said what you need to do is have multitude of meetings with your team where you have time, a good solid hour, to discuss preset subjects. And one of them would be insurance, because I believe that most of you listening are not even acutely aware of where you're getting ripped off by which company, because they're not all equal. Delta, you may take a bigger bath on Delta than United Cordia or Horizon Blue Shield or whatever, is in your state or country. But you need to look at it. You need to sit down and not just ignore it, because I know what you do. You take collectively the money that comes in each week and thus each month from those insurance companies, and then you add that sum to the private pay that you have, and it feels okay because maybe on certain months you had bigger private pay patients. And so in your mind, you justify it, right? You justify, well, that's why I do the insurance. That's why I take it, because it's my buffer. And that's, I guess, okay in the very, very beginning, like the first year maybe. But you need to weed out where you're getting ripped. And you don't know that unless you take the time. You need to put across the top of a spreadsheet all the major procedures you do. You need to put out there, your crown procedure, your denture procedure, your implant, extractions, and compare how you're getting paid from, right? If you had that all ahead of time and you compared the 6, 8, 10 insurances you're taking, it may wake you up to, whoa, that's the first one I got to get rid of. Now, how do you get rid of them and then sustain yourself? By committing, there's a plan here, by committing to skill sets that most of your brethren won't probably do. I mean, man, in every occupation in the world, be it a restaurant in your town, think about what I'm saying. A restaurant in your town, a place where you buy your clothes, the place where you take your vet, where you take your animals to a vet, the people that dry clean your clothes, the people that you go back to, I would suspect most of the people that listening go to people that have invested more than the other people in that occupation have to get you to come to them consistently, right? I mean, everybody, no matter what they do, has a window to take it to the highest level of whatever it is you do. I mean, Google this concept. There's even service stations where you get your car filled up with gasoline that are notorious, that are famous for having the most clean bathrooms or something. They actually made Google for that. Or, hotels that are impeccable. So why, and for that matter, I like to compare you guys to athletes. The best athletes didn't get to where they're at because there's a lot of athletes you don't know about anymore that were born with with good skills, but didn't work on them. So there's many of us, many of you, way smarter than me, and maybe didn't achieve. And it's not even about money. I mean, money, you're going to get rewarded handsomely, especially in this profession, because the advantage that you have is that I don't know why, most of our colleagues either give up, don't take it as seriously as you are, and refuse to give what it takes to be that amazing athlete, to be that amazing guy that owns the business I'm referring to that you go to. I just don't think you'll find anybody in any walk of life that isn't super successful, that didn't pay for it some way. And you and I, the number one way we have to pay for it is not the venue we work in. It's nice to have a nice venue, but that's not it. The number one way is your commitment to education. Your commitment to yourself. That's what it is. Because what happens is it builds on itself. It does. You take a course like my colleagues took this weekend, and I guarantee you, even without speaking to many of them, and now we're all connected, by the way. So I'm kind of like a little mentor, maybe, in some ways, to some of those guys in the room. In fact, at least one or two of them were there because of these podcasts. And it doesn't even matter if they go back and start using exactly Dr. Frank Zaster's techniques on Monday. What matters is they made this commitment. I don't know whether you're getting this or not. I don't know whether you believe me. It's just true. What I'm saying to you is absolutely simply true. If you make the commitment, you'll end up reaping the rewards of that commitment. And it may take longer for some of you, depending on a number of circumstances, how much you can commit to. And by the way, don't sacrifice your life, your personal life, not seeing your children, not seeing your wife or significant other to make this. You got to do both. Because there's a lot of guys out there that I've met that probably have very successful practices and on paper look like really greener pastures, but might be on their second or third significant other. So that's not what I'm advocating as well. So a couple final concepts I want to talk about before the next podcast. I'm looking at my notes here on the screen, and I've said this before, but I noticed that a lot of younger dentists, you invest so much time in social media, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but some of you put over the top time, in my opinion. Don't get mad at the messenger. I'm just trying to help you. You go over the top, like you make these vignettes, these silly or comical, I guess maybe they're comical, little vignettes, and you put them online on Facebook or whatever you do, and your community of patients thinks you're funny and cute and nice, and that's your shtick. I'm saying maybe put some of that energy into yourself, into a course. I don't know what the right thing to tell you about what I'm about to say. I borrowed a lot of money at times to take the courses. I mean, when I took an implant course, the one I took was Carl Misch, and then back in the 1990s, it was $20,000. That was a pretty big. I probably borrowed it, knowing me, to do that. I'm not. Look, and I'll give you my advice if you want to write to me. A lot of you do at this point. If you want my advice on what do I think you should do that. If I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know. I'm not sure, but usually I'm fairly opinionated and have a reason why I would do what I would tell you to do. So I guess that's it today. It's a wake-up call because I was at this course and I was enlightened. I was enlightened by the number of young docs that are making commitments, and by the way, everybody shared information. There's no such thing as going there and feeling scared to ask a question. I mean, these were bright young guys. And I've been in surgery for over 20 years now, asking questions that, damn, I was blown away, And I know some of them for a fact were absolute rookies in the field of what we were studying. In this particular case with surgery. I hope this is helping you guys. I hope you write to me and ask me to talk about certain subjects that, I'm trying to hit you like 20, 25 minutes a week with a little motivation, innovation, realism, life, what I would do if I was you. Like we're talking, like I said that many times in the beginning of this thing, like you and I are having a beer after work. Because, I don't have any beer in front of me, but that's kind of what this is. Anyway, have a great week. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks for tuning in.